Now, moving on to the polling around Trump's cabinet nominations, you had polled voters on their support for the nomination of former Rep. Matt Gaetz as Attorney General, presumably before he withdrew his name for consideration. So, what did those results show? And do you think that almost predicted his lack of support from the Senate and eventual withdrawal?
Yes, Matt Gaetz had the lowest support out of all the Trump cabinet nominees that we tested in the poll, at just 29% supporting. Even a quarter of Trump voters opposed Matt Gaetz's nomination. I think that says all that we need to know, really. And that was about the same for Republicans, the two being closely tied. Obviously, Democrats overwhelmingly opposed to the nomination, and independents also opposed. So, you know, you 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 had all across the political spectrum at least a quarter who were opposed to Gates's nomination. So it is no surprise that he decided to withdraw himself in the face of what was likely heavy Senate opposition. And I think the poll just shows that.
Mhm. Well, Gates was the least popular, but coming in at the most popular was RFK Jr., Trump's Health and Human Services Secretary pick. Why do you think he was so popular and was gaining so much support in this poll?
Well, I would caveat that and say that yes, he receives the highest support number at 47%, but he also receives 40% in opposition, and that's with 30% strongly opposed. So we see that RFK Jr. Really splits people. Um, you know, we see that 66% of Democrats oppose, 15% of Republicans oppose his nomination. So I think that you either love him or you hate him in some regards. I think some folks have been surprised at some of the things that they've heard from both RFK Jr. and the Trump plans for the next administration. But really, he seems to really split the electorate, and we see some strong opinions either way on his nomination.
Hmm. That makes me think of when he was running for president too. I feel like that was the consensus among him of his supporters and opposers there. So,
For sure.
yeah, is there anything else you want to add about the cabinet results? Anything else notable from any of the other nominees?
Yeah, I think Hegseth is the other one that was interesting. We find 37% support, 35% opposed. So he is just barely in that sort of positive support category. I think this is another case where if you know who he is, if you've read some of the stories lately, then you might see where he might be a little controversial as a pick for defense. We see that among independents, 36% are opposed, 55% of Democrats are opposed to his nomination. So we can see where there are camps of opposition there. We don't see it so much from Republicans, but he is another choice that has been fairly controversial, and we see that reflected here as well.